Peter was ambling through a forest when he abruptly heard an unusual sound emanating from some shrubbery, piquing his interest. Deciding to investigate, he was stunned to discover a remarkably petite creature. Upon closer inspection, Peter identified it as a potential pup, though he wasn't completely certain. He chose to take it to a veterinary clinic. Upon their arrival, the vet let out a startling cry that left Peter and his wife, Bianca, quite unnerved. They had anticipated he might express some bafflement at the pup's unusual look, but this reaction felt excessive. The vet's vocal surprise was extreme, but he had good grounds for it. Unlike Peter, Bianca, or anyone else they consulted, the vet accurately recognized the creature in their care. It was most certainly not a pup, and definitely not something Peter should have touched. When the vet unveiled the shocking truth to the couple, they were astounded by their ignorance. They had made a grave error bringing this creature home. But what was this peculiarly small creature? What caused the vet's overreaction, and how deeply had Peter plunged himself into trouble? It was a noise Peter had never encountered before. He had frequented these woods as a kid and an adult, but had never heard such a sound. His intrigue was stirred, compelling him to uncover the source, a decision he retrospectively wished he hadn't made. The noise lured Peter away from the forest trail and toward a cluster of bushes. Realizing he was in uncharted territory, he knew he had to approach cautiously. But when he pushed some of the foliage aside and spotted the creature responsible for the uncanny sound, his apprehension subsided quickly. From the looks of it, this creature didn't pose any threat, but the more he examined it, the less sense it made. It was undeniably a juvenile, but Peter couldn't quite determine its species. All he could surmise was that it bore a vague resemblance to a peculiar pup, but his assumption would later be refuted. Peter couldn't identify the creature, but he grasped why it was producing such noises. The pup was too young to fend for itself, and considering how emaciated it had become, Peter deduced that it had been deserted by its mother for quite some time. Consequently, Peter faced a challenging decision. Would he leave the pup alone in the naive hope that its mother would return, or would he take it back to the city? When he saw the pitiful condition of the tiny creature, the choice was simple. With utmost care, he picked it up and gently placed it in his small bag. Despite providing shelter, the continuous whimpering persisted, clearly indicating the animal's distress. It was an hour's walk to the city, significant time for Peter to conjure up a plan. Consulting a vet was impractical, as they were closed over the weekend barring emergencies, which was against Peter's financial constraints. However, he had faith in his capabilities to nurture a puppy. Back home, they had a dog, and during his residence with his parents, the family dog had borne a litter, the caretaking of which Peter gladly partook in. If only he had an inkling about the real identity of the strange creature. The first requirement was puppy milk, and though their family dog was male, Peter knew that a suitable alternative was available at the pet store. Thus, on the route home, he decided to stop over. The peculiar tiny creature attracted significant attention due to its novel appearance. Peter was swarmed with queries about it, most of which he was unable to satisfactorily address. Some folks found the fact that he had taken the creature from the wilderness somewhat unsettling. While he firmly believed he was rescuing a puppy, some speculated otherwise, though they too failed to provide a clear picture of the creature's identity. Considering the myriad unknown creatures inhabiting the forest, it was plausible that the puppy was well suited to the wilderness, and Peter might be meddling where he didn't belong. He was taken aback by the negative reaction. In his perception, he was doing a commendable deed, protecting a forlorn being. Having completed his purchase, a somewhat disillusioned Peter hastened out of the store. He didn't require this negativity, and besides, he staunchly believed that he was handling a young dog, certain the veterinarian would affirm this the next day. For the moment, he was adamant about doing everything within his power to keep this animal alive. It had ceased its whimpering a while ago, but Peter felt quite certain that it was due to fatigue. Given its frail appearance, it likely didn't have the strength to resist much. Once home, Peter began preparing the milk before even informing Bianca about the creature he had rescued. Then, in the middle of feeding it with a bottle, his wife walked into the room and was taken aback by the sight. However, she didn't have the luxury of time to remain stunned, as a swift reaction was needed right behind her. Their dog Benjamin strolled into the room, and as soon as he caught sight of the creature in Peter's grip, he lunged at it, barking loudly. Bianca barely managed to grab his collar and haul him back. They had never seen Benjamin act this way before. Peter placed the creature down, assisting Bianca in getting Benjamin to another room. But even with the door shut, the dog didn't cease barking. They were both taken aback by this behavior, especially considering Bianca's reputation for taking in stray animals. Benjamin had never reacted so aggressively before. What was it about this animal that set him off? With tranquility restored somewhat, Bianca finally got the chance to examine the creature her husband had brought home in greater detail while Peter resumed feeding it. The creature lapped up as much milk as it could, seeming to regain strength with every gulp. Although Peter was firmly convinced he had taken in a puppy, Bianca wasn't so sure. Unlike the pet store attendants, she was thrilled that Peter had brought it home, believing his decision might have saved the animal's life. However, she just couldn't see a dog in it. She snapped several photos while Peter arranged a spot for the new member to spend the night. Bianca took the initiative to search online for any creature that resembled this peculiar-looking baby. She was determined, but no matter how hard she tried, she found nothing that gave her clarity about the animal's identity. She started thinking it could possibly be a canine, given the many varieties of puppies, some of which, if they lost a good deal of their fur, could feasibly resemble this creature. However, she recognized that only a professional could provide a definitive answer. Thankfully, Peter had set up an appointment with a veterinarian for the following day, early in the morning. She didn't want to wait for answers. Even though the little one drastically improved after consuming a significant amount of milk, Peter was constantly worried it might not survive the night. What if it had an adverse reaction to the milk? Or if it felt too cold? He couldn't quite figure out why he was so concerned, but he definitely was. Decisively, Peter decided to stay up all evening, keeping a close watch on the creature. Bianca was amazed by her husband's willingness to make such a sacrifice for a creature he had discovered just a few hours ago. It was a side of her husband she had never seen before. Fortunately, the creature made it through the night with minimal difficulties. It woke up a few times and Peter provided it with another bottle of milk. Bianca even joined him around 3 a.m. to keep an eye on the creature, allowing him to get some rest. She didn't necessarily share Peter's bond with the creature, but she deeply respected his actions and wanted to support him in any way possible. She even planned on accompanying him to the vet's appointment the next morning. The curiosity was too strong for her to ignore. The next day, they discovered that the creature was actually a baby red panda. Its mother had fled from a zoo and given birth in the wilderness. The vet disclosed that the creature they found wasn't a puppy, but a baby red panda. Its mother had broken free from a local zoo, and the staff had already found her, but were persistently scanning the wilderness for her offspring. Peter and Bianca exchanged glances, both relieved and bewildered. They had unintentionally rescued a rare creature, and now they were faced with the challenge of returning it to its rightful home.